Hello and welcome to another episode of Words with Myself.
One of the key behavioural differences between adults and children is that adults take their decisions and choices much more seriously. For instance, if you were to ask an adult why they are doing what they're doing, they are likely going to have a pretty thought through answer as to the reasons why. It might be that they're choosing to go shopping because everyone needs to get fed and the meals need to get made, so we need to get the ingredients. Or it might be, I'm going to work so I can earn money. But whatever it is that we choose to do, we tend to have a reason or backing to that. Whereas if you ask a child why they're choosing to play with their bionicles, they're like, because that's what I want to do. And it's much more feeling orientated and kind of being in the moment. And of course, this is just a natural consequence of responsibility. The more you are responsible for, the more seriously you have to consider your actions and your choices. If you are free from responsibility, then you don't really have much of a burden even on your own choices, because, okay, it might be you that suffers or you that has to suffer the consequences of your own actions. But when you introduce children into your life or your loved ones, you take your decisions a lot more seriously because you know it has an impact on the people that you care about. And it's no longer about just thinking about yourself and the negative and positive experiences that you want to have, but also the consequences and the outcomes that will come from those decisions and how they will affect the people closest to you. Or even without kids, as adults, we have had to deal with the consequences of our actions a lot more often. Things affect us more. For instance, if we get injured, the time that we take to heal and get over it is a lot greater. The punishment for a misstep or a mistake is a lot greater. When you're a child and you're learning, to make a mistake is natural. It's a consequence of learning. But when you're at work and the pressure is on and you're expected to deliver and you make a mistake, there isn't the same kind of environment that allows that mistake to take place in order for you to learn. Often when it comes to work, those mistakes are detrimental to the business and therefore carry quite severe consequences. It's also just less socially acceptable to make mistakes as an adult. You're expected to know better. You're expected to have all of the answers when you're an adult. And if you don't know something, or you make a mistake, or you make a wrong decision, people frown upon it a lot more than they would if you were a child. But what this ends up doing is creating a society of cautious people. People that are afraid to make mistakes. Afraid to grow, afraid to learn, afraid to put themselves out there, afraid to do things that they might not be good at immediately. It creates a society of avoidant people, people that don't want to challenge themselves because they view and perceive the stakes as being too high. And sometimes the consequences really can be high. If it means that you risk losing your job or missing a big opportunity that you might only have one opportunity at. But it's also quite likely that the consequences are not that drastic. And in fact, we actually just have an inflated sense of self-importance and our egos are bigger. And we feel a lot more shame for making mistakes. We feel a lot more embarrassed. And that is often the true reason why people avoid doing things that are difficult or doing things that they are inexperienced at, is because that sting of not being successful, not being able to do what they want to do, or maybe they are embarrassed to make a mistake in front of others. But whether there are high consequences or not, when we allow ourselves to become trapped in our decision making because we are so afraid of the outcome or the potential outcome, we end up getting into this state where we are living life like we are walking on a tightrope line, as if every decision, every step needs to be really carefully thought out and very carefully planned. And we take the whole affair so serious. It zaps any fun, any enjoyment out of life because we're so concentrated on doing the right thing or the good thing. We're so focused on making those steps and planning our journey and making sure that we're going to get to the other end that we miss the whole aspect. We miss the whole point, the beauty of the journey. We miss the enjoyment. And then you are left with this life that is simply a to-do list, a task list. You have a set of chores and a set of responsibilities and a set of tasks that you must complete, and you must do all of these with utter seriousness and a complete lack of enjoyment. And this is unfortunately how many of us live. We don't live in a way that we are playing through life, that we are enjoying the game. We live in a way that we take it so serious that the stakes to us are so high. The thought of something going wrong or making a mistake or losing the money that you have gained, this is the anxiety that plagues people. The fact that they know, as everyone knows, that we are all fallible, that we all make mistakes. We all have moments where we're on and moments where we're off, moments where we're tired, moments where we need rest, and moments where we have full of energy and we feel like we can do or achieve anything. But we have to live and play up to the status quo, to pretend like we are robots, that we are capable of performing at all hours without getting tired or without making mistakes, and we have to be superheroes to our children and infallible to our partners. And despite the obvious truth that we are not these people, that we are human and that we have vulnerabilities, we have weaknesses, we have strengths and competencies, but overall we are limited in our capacity. And it can be incredibly exhausting. You can feel absolutely and totally trapped inside of yourself because you are trying to live up to these expectations, live up to these standards that you put on yourself, live up to these conditions that you have dictated or taken on. Because the truth is, it matters as much as we think it matters. And it can matter not at all. We can see ourselves as a speck of dust in an infinite universe. And we can see ourselves as inconsequential and unimportant. And with this line of thinking, we can liberate ourselves from the seriousness of life. We can see that nothing is as important as we think it is. We are not in control of anything. Even if we do our best to stay healthy and stay alive, something can take us out at any moment in time, no matter who you are or where you are. We can see that soon enough and over time, nothing matters. Everything dies, everything erodes, everything changes. And no one thing is that important. It doesn't matter how long you live in the history books, because sooner or later, you're going to be forgotten. And it doesn't matter how many people are in your life, because truly, we all die alone. In that individual experience, there is no attachment to anyone or anything. You have to undergo that process entirely on your own. But once you start fixating on certain conditions and certain criteria and certain limitations, you can see yourself as this one organism that is at the center of the universe, that has a time limit on their life and must experience everything in the best way possible, exactly as they want, all the time. An organism that is in control of its own life. One that makes choices and decisions for the future. One that takes life seriously and demands they be taken seriously. But that doesn't make it true. You may see life as finite. You may think that the beginning is when you're born and the end is when you die. So you're going to take those years that you have much more seriously because you're going to think that that's all that you've got. So you decide that you want to make that an important life, a special life, not something that is like all of the others. So you work on crafting a personality, an identity. You work on crafting who you are. And because you've been doing that for so long, you've been working on this person and this identity and your abilities and your skills and your accolades, you then take that very seriously because this is your life and you have put all of your time and energy and effort into making this important. But that doesn't make it important. It's all a fabrication of your own doing. And that's okay. It's okay if that's how you want to play the game, but that doesn't mean that it's not a game. You don't get to escape the truth. You just get to believe in your own one. If you convince yourself of this importance and that life has meaning and that everything that we do is serious and do or die, and it's very important to carry on living and to be doing certain things that make us good people, and that's perfectly fine to play the game in that way. But if you are tired, if you are depressed, if you are not feeling like you are living life with enjoyment or presentness or gratitude, you feel like you're just going through the motions and ticking things off, or believing that we have to amass a certain amount of wealth or complete a certain amount of objectives in order to be important or worthy of love. Maybe you want to be immortal and you're looking for a way to live on through history and do something that is worth people talking about. And that's how you preserve this life. But anyone who embarks on this journey will at some point realize that it's never enough. There's never enough things that you can do, never enough experience to be had. It's always wanting more. Things are never bright enough or loud enough or exciting enough. And if you do find something that you really like and you keep doing it, then it becomes dull and it becomes less interesting. And then you have to find something bigger, something more exciting, a challenge that is even more impossible, or a feat that is even more rare. It's always pursuing and chasing more, because rather than playing in life, rather than experiencing and enjoying it, we are focusing all of our attention on controlling, on trying to guarantee a certain outcome. We set our sights on something and then force our will onto the world. And in order to do this, we have to sacrifice a lot. We have to sacrifice a lot of the present moment as well. We can't just do what we want to do. We have to do what needs to be done to get the thing that we think that we want. And sometimes we can fool ourselves into thinking the thing that we want is more amazing or better or more exciting or will fill us with more joy than it actually can ever provide. Because the truth is that living the life, being in the present moment, enjoying your days, playing, having fun, experiencing joy, those are the things that are making life worthwhile. And while doing things and achieving things can be amazing and a wonderful use of your time, taking it so seriously will only erode from that amazement, will only erode from your experience, because you will view the things that you do as more important than how you experience them. You'll put more emphasis on result than experience. And because of that, it ends up making you or forcing you into making certain decisions and avoiding other decisions, because we are trying to control parameters. We're trying to control the outcome. Therefore, we must restrict the actions that we take, the input that we have, even when that result could be completely random. We feel like by entering the lottery more often, we are controlling the result of making it more probable that we will win. And of course, it's going to be more probable than if you don't do the lottery, but you are still playing a game of chance. And life is a game of chance. Sometimes things that you want may come your way, and sometimes they won't. There are times where things will go well and times where things will go bad. And rather than trying to control whether more good things happen than bad things, or the things that we want happen and the things that we don't want don't happen, we can try to live a more present experience, to maybe set an intention. Say, I want this, or I would like to experience this in life, but not control our lives to the point where we're trying to guarantee that outcome. Because life truly is a game, and it's meant to be played. It's not meant to be procedurally followed. It's not meant to be done in increments. It's meant to be played, to experiment. The very purpose of life is to play. Thank you for listening.